Hey friends, today on Literary Hype Woman, we have a very special guest. She's an actress, a comedian, a podcaster, and now Angela Johnson Reyes has added author to her list of accomplishments. Her new book, Who Do I Think I Am? Stories of Chola Wishes and Caviar Dreams, hit shelves this winter. We got to talk to her about the book itself, the process of writing, faith, and of course her tour, which is by the same name. So here's my conversation with Angela Johnson Reyes. Yeah, so very excited to talk to you. I've only been quoting Bon Qui since like freshman year of college, so
Love that.
pretty much every day. So this is
love your color coordinated books.
They're my favorite thing in the world.
I love that. It's very Monica Geller of you.
It takes quite a bit of time every time I move. It's like, okay, here's a whole day to do this. Which I just pulled your book off of there.
Ooh, I know what section that goes in, right behind you. The title of my book is Who Do I Think I Am? Stories of Chola Wishes and Caviar Dreams. And it's a layered title. Who Do I Think I Am is stories of self-identity. Growing up Mexican and American, I didn't speak Spanish. My last name was Johnson. I always felt like I wanted to be more Mexican than I felt like I was. And I wanted to be a chola real bad. I want to be that tough girl, but nobody was afraid of little Payasa Johnson. Like, who is scared of her? You know what I mean? And so Who Do I Think I Am is stories of self-identity, not only in that, but even in my faith. Like, what do I believe and all the things? Like, who do I think I am? Like, evolving constantly. Who do I think I am? Who do I think I am? And it's also, who do I think I am to dream such big dreams and go for them? Like, who do I think I am to be this little Mexican American girl from San Jose, California, saying I want to be an actress when I know nothing about being an actor? I don't know how to get in Hollywood. Like, who do I think I am? How far-fetched is that idea to say I want to be an actress when I know nothing? It's one of those. So it's like stories of self-identity, but it's also stories of chasing your dreams. It's stories of how I got to where I am today, the ups and downs, the highs and lows, the behind the scenes that people don't get to see on your Instagram highlight reel, you know what I mean? So it's a very layered title, and it's very personal to me in that sense. And I love it.
So what was the process like for you? You've written your comedy specials before, going into it and writing a book. How was that different or the same, or what kind of brain processes did that take for you?
So in stand-up comedy, we are taught to cut the fat, which means get to your punchline as quick as possible. You want to take out all the details, set up punchline, set up punchline. You want to get to the punchline as quick as possible. But I have some stories that every detail is juicy. It's needed to like really paint the picture of where I was in my life, of what I want you to see and visualize in this story. And so there were certain stories that I had tried on stage a couple times and they didn't work. And I was like, okay, I can adjust this story for stand-up, or I can keep it for a book one day. And that's how I started writing my book. Was 10 years ago. I started this document on my computer of stories that I would tell if I had a book. What would my chapter be like if I had a book? And I started this document years ago, and I would put stories in there that didn't work for the stage, but I knew they were good stories. And one of them is my chapter where I talk about going to Michael Jackson's house. And it's an incredible story of finding myself at Michael Jackson's, how I got there to begin with, like being a groupie backstage at a concert. I had just moved to LA, like I didn't know what I was doing. And I wind up at Michael Jackson's house somehow. I've tried that story on stage and it doesn't work. But when I'm in conversation with people and I would tell that story where I get to share all the details, it makes everything so much more exciting, so much more, oh my God, no way. So I was like, okay, you know what? I see that this story works when I get to share everything about it. But when I have to cut it down, it doesn't work. So I was like, that's going in my book. So like things like that, like I would take stories that didn't work for stage and I'd be like, this definitely is worth the story, but it needs all the details. So I'm putting it in the book. So that was kind of how I switched from stand-up writing to book writing.
Did you find book writing or stand-up writing more difficult? Like which one's more difficult for you?
Book. Stand-up, it's a natural rhythm to me. I'm just storytelling and I can feel the energy of the audience. So I know when I need to cut something. I know when I need to like keep going. They're really into this, keep going for a little while. Like you vibe off of the crowd. In a book, you're just being vulnerable and like putting it all out there. And then you go back and reread it and you're like, ooh, should I really say that? And you, you know what I mean? Like, ooh, was I a little too honest in this one? You know? So I'd say book was definitely more difficult.
Was there anything that you initially wanted to put in the book but took out because it was too vulnerable, or like did editors push you to be more vulnerable in some places?
Sure. There were certain things that I would want to be more vulnerable with and share more about, but it didn't feel like the time. It didn't feel like this was the place. And I had to do that throughout the book. It was like constantly gauging, like, I want to be real honest, open about this. And then it's like, I have to also consider other people involved. And I'd be like, you know what? Now's not the time for this one. We'll just hold on to that. Or I'll just go up to this point and we'll just leave it right there. We'll put a period and move on to the next. And we don't have to go into all the details of this one particular thing. So there were definitely things like that. There was a joke that I made about somebody in the book who is an ex. And it was a really funny joke, but it came off real petty. And it came off a little like bitter almost. And so I took that joke out, and I'll be honest, I felt better when I took it out. Like it was a funny joke and I was like, oh my gosh, I hope he reads this. You know what I mean? But then the fact that I was like, I hope he reads this makes me be like, okay, what's going on with you that you gotta like let some stuff go still? You know what I mean? It was like one of those where I was like, you know what? I'm not going to put that bad juju out there. Like this book is positive. It's funny. Like, why do I need to like try to make somebody else look bad? Even though I don't name this person by name or anything, but I was like, you know what, let me just take this joke out. And as soon as I took it out, I felt better because that's more true to me. Like, I don't want to hurt people's feelings. I'm not out to be that type of person. It was more so me reflecting on my own experience. But I was like, let me just take this out. And once I did, I felt better about it. But there were definitely things that I wanted to put in. I was like, I'll just hold on to that for me. I'll just text this one to my friend.
And that is one thing that I appreciate is that it feels very true to you. Like anybody who's watched your stand-up can hear you and your cadence as they read it. It's so kind of weird to have you in your head like that.
Yeah.
But I also love that you're true to your faith. This is kind of a climate where it's really hard to be open about your faith.
Sure.
Have you run into any like pressure or anything like that to kind of keep it out of the book or keep it off the stage as much?
Not really. I started stand up very bold with my faith. And like at the time, I was even more like conservative. And I have evolved a lot as a human, as a woman, as a comedian, as a wife, as an entertainer. I have evolved a lot. So I feel like, honestly, I feel probably more of a, not pressure now, but I spent so long building my brand and people know me as this comedian who works clean, who I was doing the faith circuit, like I was performing at churches and Christian conferences and things like that. And then I got to a place where I started asking more questions and started unsubscribing to certain thoughts, certain ideas that once were like a strong foundation in my faith. And I was like, I actually don't know that I subscribe to that particular thought, which is kind of like in a disagreement with some churches. And so then I would notice I wasn't doing as many churches because I was evolving, I was shifting, and I was changing. So I feel like I am more conscious of how I talk about my faith now, because I know I do have a strong Christian following, but I know I also don't always agree with what is being preached a lot of times in, major Christian churches. So I feel like I'm more aware now of how I talk about my faith than when I was younger. When I was younger, I was just like all the things because this is what I feel. And it's a majority agrees with it. So in, you know, the Christian faith. So I'm like, I'm okay talking about it. And then now I'm more like, okay, I know a lot of people don't agree with what I think about this particular topic. So maybe I shouldn't say, kind of like with my book, like I'll say up to this point and then I'll just let it go. Cause I'm not trying to ruffle feathers. I'm not trying to get people to be like, ew, I don't like her anymore or whatever, but that's going to happen. People are going to do that. And they have done that. And that's part of evolving and growing. You know, people, as I unsubscribe to things, people unsubscribe to me, but then new people do subscribe to me. And that's kind of how the entertainment industry works. You know, you win some, you lose some. You're not for everybody. And as I evolve and grow in my faith, I think my fan base is also evolving and growing of what they look like. So it's that balance of staying true to who I am and also honoring this brand that I've built as I evolve and shift that brand, you know?
It's a very tricky balance.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, a lot of like Christian artists are doing the deconstruction process and ruffling a lot of feathers with it.
Yeah.
But like Jodie Benson, the voice of Little Mermaid, is putting out a book this year, and she got a lot of flack for doing it under a Christian label. So it's like a very interesting kind of mix of when you feel that pushback. So you've got the book that came out, and it's the same name as the tour.
Yes.
How much of it is kind of the same as from the book, or is it different?
My show is not the book. There's themes for sure, but my show that I'm touring with right now is more so my life after COVID and how things have changed for me. But I was writing my book during COVID, and my book goes back to my childhood and all the way up until today. So it's not like when I get on stage, I'm saying the joke that's chapter 4, but there are things that I'll mention. Like I talk about my relationship with my sister and how we grew up best friends. We're still best friends. I talk to my sister like 5 times a day, which is great for me, not so much for her because she has a real job, you know, like stuff like that. And I talk about our friendship today. But in the book, I do talk about us growing up, and I do talk about, you know, she's my best friend, but it's different than what you'll hear on stage. So like the themes are, you'll hear about the themes of the book, but you'll hear something different on stage and then you'll read in the book. And some things you'll read and be like, oh my gosh, that's the dog that she was talking about that she rescued or whatever it is, you know? So there will be some things that you'll be able to put 2 and 2 together and be like, oh, this is what she was saying.
I was going to ask later on if you had the dog on tour.
Oh, all the time. Oh, he's people watching right now in the window. Usually what he likes to do is when I get on a Zoom call, it's his favorite time to get his loudest, squeakiest toy. It's like, as soon as he sees me open up the computer and get on Zoom, he's like, oh, where's my squeaker? Time to go. But he's currently people watching in the front window, which is his second favorite thing to do.
I mean, understandably, people watching is rather entertaining.
Yeah.
We've got these fun little pictures in your book. How much fun was that for you to like go through and pick them out? And do you have a favorite?
Oh my God, I had so many photos. They're like, okay, listen, it's not a photo album. You have to take a lot of these out. And I was like, oh, but they're so good. I had so much fun writing the captions for these photos. It was hilarious. It was so fun. And I was really excited thinking about people being able to see these photos, my childhood photos, and being able to put a face to the stories that they just read, I thought was really cool. So it was really important to me to get those pictures in there, as many as I could.
Is there any kind of message or like something that you hope people take away from the book and or the tour in reading your stories?
Yeah. So when I write stand-up comedy, my goal is obviously to make people laugh, but more than that, my goal is to connect on a human level to people in the audience, to relate with people. I love when I look in the audience and I'm telling a story and I see people in the audience be like, oh, my husband does that. Or, you know, guys being like, yep, that's my wife, you know, and people connect with what I'm saying and they see themselves in my stories. When I'm talking about my marriage and our arguing styles, and I see couples in the audience like register with each other, like, oh, yep, she's talking about us. I love that, because at this point, we're not just laughing. Now we're connecting as humans. Now you see yourself inside of me and my stories. So my hope is that my book does the same thing, that people see themselves in my stories. People feel seen, feel heard, and by the end of it, feel inspired and encouraged in their own life. My hope is always that I connect with people, and at the end of it, that they feel seen, heard, inspired, and joyful, a little more happy, a little more easygoing, a little more happy.
We could all use more happiness. And since you just touched on, excuse me, the Mexican American heritage, how important is it to you for other Latinas to see themselves in your stories and to see someone that looks like them make it?
My thing is the same thing. Like, I want people to see me and go, I can do that, you know? And I talk about in my book how I didn't really have a lot of that. I didn't really see a lot of people who look like me that were making it happen. And like Sandra Bullock was the closest that I could see in me. She was like, had dark features. Even though she's not Latina, she kind of looked Latina a little bit. And I remember when the movie Speed came out, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. Like, she's like me, I could do it. And I remember she was funny, and I loved that I could see somebody that looked like me doing it. And so like, I feel like it's really important for other Latinas and whoever to look at me and be like, okay, she could do it. And she came from humble beginnings. She didn't know what she was doing at first. Like, she didn't have all the resources. She didn't go to like the best university. She didn't go to like the top acting school. She didn't do any of that, but she still went for it and she tried. And whether it's you want to get in the entertainment industry or you want to start your own business, I would hope that people would look at my story and take something of that and apply it to their life. And that something in my story would almost be like the key to unlock something in their story. And I think it is really important for young girls and boys and whoever, young everybody's, to have someone to look at and say, okay, if they can do it, I can do it.
Well, it's such a delight to get to talk to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day and enjoy your tour. Hopefully I'll be there.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for watching my conversation with Angela Johnson Reyes. Don't forget to pick up a copy of her new book, Who Do I Think I Am? Stories of Chola Wishes and Caviar Dreams. And then hit that subscribe button so you can see who's coming up next here on Literary Hype Woman.